Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you my review of this week's episode of Van Helsing on Syfy, which was episode 4 of season 2, called A Home. And I want to apologize for the lateness. I know it's just the next night, but this is probably one of my busiest times of year now with a new job, but also there's like a good handful of shows that just came back recently. So just trying to get all that in order, but let me tell you, especially with an episode like this, and just the way the whole second season's been going, Van Helsing is going to remain at the top of my my priority list. I already think it's stronger than The Walking Dead this year. Granted, The Walking Dead has only had one episode, and they're different animals, but I don't know. I'm definitely more hyped after watching Van Helsing than the premiere of The Walking Dead, so I think I should still say something. This episode, I loved it. Like I said, it was called A Home, and I feel like a broken record saying this, but honestly, it just keeps topping itself. I really liked last week's episode. Of course, I really liked the 2 episodes before that as well. They're fine. But season 2, it's really picking up its game. It's really, really taking a turn for the best here. Or the worst, for certain characters. Let me just say again how much I love Julius's development this season. Alex Penovic, he is doing a great job, no matter how many times I butcher his name. And I liked how he got to show a lot of charisma this week and energy. Not only with running out with the kids, whose group we'll talk about in a minute. But he's able to really flex and, not like literally, which I'm sure would be good as well, but, he was able to flex some of his, deeper acting, talents, I think. He's able to portray a character with, layers and a really, fairly deep history. And I think him and Kelly Overton are really, doing well in their shared scenes together. But basically, it's sometime after Dylan's surprise, death in the previous episode, which I still found pretty shocking. I mean, I was expecting her to die, probably towards the end of the season, though, not in episode 3. And I thought it was going to be more of a case of Vanessa having to put her down, or, her getting, like, severely injured or something like that, but no, Ash. So it was surprising in the way they did it, and a lot sooner than I expected. And I thought it was necessary at some point. I don't think it's going to be harming the show or anything like that. I think it's necessary for Vanessa's, further development as a character to have that loss, unfortunately. I don't like seeing her in pain, but I do, because Kelly Overton does an awesome job portraying that. But it's been some time, and Vanessa's just slaughtering, any feral vampire she can. I like the little scene we got of her just hacking away at him with her or hatchet, which is cool. Julius, saying she's not, cleansing, she's on a rampage, and, it is all driven by her, grief. This is her way of trying to cope. Which for us viewers is, awesome, but for Julius and the vamps, not so much. But they come across this group named the Johnsons. It almost reminded me of Ewoks from Star Wars. Most of them are taller than that, most of them, because, they have a lot of kids in their group, and they've decided, to sort of teach them how to survive, basically, which unfortunately they have to do in this kind of world. I think it's justified, unfortunately. But, they still let them live their lives as much as they can. They still let them be kids as much as they can. And I appreciated that as well. There's, you're waiting for that moment of, to discover that, there's some, like, deep, dark, kind of ugly secret to this group, but it doesn't appear to be so yet. You see this kid, he has some marks on his wrists, I think, or something, but supposedly it's from a previous group, and it turns out to be true, because we find out that group is the group at the school, who a lot of the teenagers there were just slaughtered as well by Sam. So they're not really the greatest, and the marks on his wrists are probably from the whip, the lashing that we've seen Felix, take. So he probably escaped at some point and ended up with them. So I thought it was pretty good how they tied into that. And it felt natural, yet still kind of surprising when we see Vanessa and Julius and the Johnsons just approaching the school at the end. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes. I like the time that spent with this group. There was a little bit of levity there, which even a show like Van Helsing needs just a smidgen of sometimes. And I thought it felt nice. It didn't feel like out of place. It didn't feel like a waste of time. It didn't feel like filler either. Again, I feel like a broken record, but this was probably the best episode of the season. And it looks like next week's will probably be the best episode of the season when that airs. It's just on this magnificent roll. And I'm just appreciating it more and more, honestly. I like Vanessa's bond with, I forget if the kid was named Troy, I could be wrong, but the kid, like I said, with the marks, they sort of form a little bit of a connection there. I like how that was played. And Julius, chasing the kids around is fun as well. It reminded me of the snowballs with Dylan in the previous episode. Again, Alex Penovic is just a real joy to watch, I think. Now, before we talk about when it crossed paths at the end, let us also mention Sam and Felix back at the school. Christopher Heyerdahl, creepy as fuck. Or creepy as hell, as Negan from Walking Dead would say, because he's on AMC, so he can't curse. Still, Jeffrey Dean Morgan's pretty good anyway. But anyway, Sam, creepy as hell, probably the best villain we have on the show now. Even if Rebecca was still around, who I still miss, I think Sam is really establishing himself as sort of our worst villain in the best way. He is a true psychopath. He was a serial killer before he was turned, so you can't get too much worse than that. Just the way Christopher Heyerdahl plays him, all his mannerisms, the way he talks, his rhymes, the way he sings to himself, it's just creepy. And when he was sort of like stalking, sort of just toying with Felix as he's trying to escape, and he was sort of, chasing him around at his own pace, it was creepy. Just to see him, sort of just lunging around like that, I thought actually was kind of effective. So that's a credit to, both Christopher Heyerdahl and, just the way they wanted to shoot it. So I thought that was all really good as well. Felix does try to free the others at a certain point. But it's just funny how they insult Felix when he approaches the door, but then as soon as they think they have a chance to get free, they're willing to say, oh yeah, come on, yeah. Two-faced even in the vampire apocalypse. But that's high school for you. So I thought all that was pretty good. We also see our ninja. It appears like she's tracking Vanessa. We see her, I think, go to the location where Vanessa was slaughtering the vampires at the beginning of the episode. I won't be surprised if she interrupts the confrontation in next week's episode, although that would be a good and bad thing, because I have some hopes for what next week's episode will bring. That also depends on how much quicker the pacing is going to be, if they keep it up the way it is, or if they're going to slow things down just a bit and let it take its time. Both pros and cons to that approach, but I don't think they're failing yet. I think they found a good middle ground in terms of pacing this season. Because even with the death of Dylan, like I said, it doesn't feel too soon necessarily. It's surprising that's happened this soon, but it's not. I don't feel unsatisfied or anything. And it still feels like there's more to go this season, so they've obviously found some kind of balance. But yeah. So, we also seen a little bit of Axel and Doc. As we only really got one scene of them, though. But he's asking for more of the bagged blood and everything like that, the animal stuff and, things of that nature. And Doc actually ends up tying him to a tree, so I'm wondering how it's going to go. That's all we get from them this week. I liked Vanessa just picking up on right away, seeing all the fingers missing from the teenagers' bodies inside the school, realizing it was Sam, and it's something she needed to end a long time ago. I was hoping Julius is going to, get an answer from her on who it was. I don't think he knows Sam by name at this point. But I am excited to see Julius confront Sam, although Julius is now at a severe disadvantage, and I am worried about him, but I think it would be right for either, of course Vanessa killing Sam would be fine, but I think his real death belongs to Julius or Muhammad, although I think I'd rather see Julius at this point do it, honestly. Although I wouldn't mind seeing Sam last until at least the end of the season. But either way, I'm excited for next week's episode. When the credits rolled, I'd wished this episode was a 2-hour block. It felt very continuous. I wanted to binge the rest of it right then and there. But for now, I thought this was a really good one. Probably the best of the season so far. Easily one of the best of the series. Probably within the top, 3 maybe, just depending when I go back and watch them. So, let me know you guys thought about this week's episode. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, subscribe, and by the way, I'm rating this episode about... Well, I rated last week's a 9.3, so I'm giving this one at least a 9.4. At least around 9.2, 9.4. Sometimes I have to adjust my ratings a little bit. But still very good. I'm really excited to see what happens in next week's episode. So, peace.